is caffeine against the word of wisdom? Can we drink soda? Someone also asked if boba is against the word of wisdom. Is vegetarianism against the word of wisdom? Hey guys, it's Mimi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about the Word of Wisdom. The Word of Wisdom is a health code that members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are commanded to follow. And I don't know about you guys, but as a Latter-day Saint, some of the most common questions I get are, why don't you drink alcohol? Why don't you drink coffee? I would always get weird looks going into Starbucks, like just ordering a vanilla bean frappuccino or a hot chocolate in the summertime. In this video, we are going to go into depth on what the Word of Wisdom is, why we choose to follow it, and what exactly you can or cannot partake in. If you are brand new to my channel, again, hello, my name is Mimi, and I make videos all about LDS news, doctrine, and culture. So if you're interested in those topics, don't forget to subscribe down below. In today's video, I am going to be answering some questions from you guys. I did a video similar to this about the law of chastity not too long ago. So basically, I asked questions on my Instagram story and asked you guys what questions you had about the Word of Wisdom, and I'm going to be diving into some of those today. So let's get into it. Also, one thing I want to make super clear is obviously I'm not any kind of spokesperson or representative of the church, so I'm just going to be speaking from my opinion. And I know with the Word of Wisdom, there does get to a point where it's kind of up to interpretation. But what I want to do, how I want to format this video, is start with like the clear stuff, like we don't drink alcohol, and then get into some of the stuff that maybe people question about. So with that said, if you do want to jump to a point in the video to like a specific question, I will have timestamps in the description below that you can click on and jump to a specific point of the video. So what is the Word of Wisdom? From the True to the Faith pamphlet, it's a law of health revealed by the Lord for our physical and spiritual benefit. In this revelation, which is recorded in section 89 of the Doctrine and Covenants, the Lord tells us which foods are good for us to eat and which substances are not good for our bodies. And He promises spiritual and physical blessings for obeying the Word of Wisdom. So obviously we follow it because it is a commandment from God. And to dive into the origins more, this happened back in the 1830s. It was revealed to the prophet Joseph Smith in a revelation. So this was going back in the time of the School of the Prophets. And essentially what that was is a school where they taught spiritual and secular learnings. It was under the direction of Joseph Smith, and his wife Emma Smith was the one who would go in and like clean the building out after everyone was done for the day. And something that she noticed was like, oh my gosh, all of these people are smoking and chewing tobacco, and it was a pain to clean up. So she went to her husband, Joseph, and was like, hey, like, I have to clean up all of this stuff, and it just seems kind of gross. So he decided to pray about it, and that's where the Word of Wisdom came from. And when it was first revealed to Joseph Smith, it was actually not like a full-on commandment yet. At that point, it was only guidelines. So yes, back in that time, there were some Latter-day Saints who were still, drinking alcohol, using tobacco products, and things like that. And this actually went on for the next 2 generations. Another thing I thought was interesting, I found from Fair Mormon, it said beer, unfermented or lightly fermented wine, and cider were considered mild drinks. And in the Word of Wisdom, it says strong drinks. So that's also another kind of thing that was unclear back then, is some people thought some alcoholic drinks were not considered strong drinks. Now this was all cleared up in 1921 when Heber J. Grant was the prophet and president of the church. The Lord revealed to President Grant that all Latter-day Saints should fully live the Word of Wisdom and completely abstain from alcohol, tobacco, coffee, and tea. And we still do that today, and that's the tea. Okay, I had to make that joke once. You guys know, you know me. So those are the origins of the Word of Wisdom, and we kind of went over it, but I still wanted to go over exactly what the Word of Wisdom is, what we avoid, and what we strive to consume. So again, this is found in Doctrine and Covenants, section 89, and it says that we should abstain the following substances into our bodies. So alcoholic drinks, tobacco, tea, and coffee. In the Word of Wisdom, it actually is called hot drinks, but that's later been revealed to mean coffee and tea. And we'll get into the tea thing later because there's some confusion there too. Also says anything harmful that people purposefully take into their bodies is not in harmony with the Word of Wisdom. And this is all from True to the Faith. It says this is especially true of illegal drugs, which can destroy those who become addicted to them. Stay entirely away from them. Do not experiment with them. The abuse of prescription drugs also leads to destructive addiction. And then we also have a more recent publication that came out in 2019 where the church clarified some of these like newer things that were coming up. It says that there's several substances that are prohibited by the Word of Wisdom. This includes vaping or e-cigarettes, green tea, and coffee-based products. They also cautioned that substances such as marijuana and opioids should only be used for medical purposes as prescribed by a competent physician. So that is what the Word of Wisdom is. Well, those are the don'ts. And I feel like that's where some people like forget and they think it ends there, but it's a health code. And so there actually are some do's on this list too. So what we should partake in are fruits and vegetables, which should be used with prudence and thanksgiving, the flesh of beasts and fowls of the air, which is to be used sparingly, and grains such as wheat, rice, and oats, which are the staff of life. So those are kind of the basics of the Word of Wisdom and what it encompasses. And again, I know that the Word of Wisdom can be, difficult to live. I can't even imagine being a convert to the church, being someone who's grown up or, been used to using or drinking these products. But I truly believe that we have the Word of Wisdom for a reason, and it's truly a blessing. I feel like so often we view these commandments from God as limitations on us, but I think it's important to remember that God has the eternal perspective and He knows what's truly best for us in the long run. I know for me growing up, there were so many times I'm like, oh, I wish I could just try coffee, see what it tastes like, have a pumpkin spice latte, or I'd have friends that would go out and drink and go party, and I always wondered, what that would be like for me, if I'd enjoy it or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, it's really important to remember that Heavenly Father has our best interest in mind. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to enjoy this life, and He is knowledgeable of all things. So there must be a reason for this. And I truly have a testimony of the Word of Wisdom. I've had family members who have been addicted to different substances, and I just know that we have these commandments for a reason, and that it can truly bring us closer to God. Because if we're in a situation where we are addicted or we're taking mind-altering drugs or different substances that just mess with our minds, it makes it so much harder to be close to God and be able to feel the Spirit and receive revelation. And that's just a fact. I also know that agency is the most beautiful gift that we've all been given. We have the opportunity to choose for ourselves what we do or don't do. But if we are in a situation where we're stuck and trapped in an addiction, that takes away that agency from us. And with agency being such a beautiful gift that's given to all of us, I wouldn't ever want to do anything that would take that away. That's my testimony of the Word of Wisdom. I truly believe it's good. And I know sometimes it can be difficult, especially in situations where you're under peer pressure and people are saying, just have one drink, nobody will ever know, no one will ever find out. I know it's so worth it to keep it, and I know you guys can do it. So feel free to reach out if you guys ever want to talk more about this. But I do want to get into some more questions of some specifics that you guys also asked. One question that I received, it says, why shouldn't we drink alcohol if Jesus drank wine? And I feel like that's a really good, valid question that I receive all the time from friends who are not members of our faith. And I think what it comes down to is, this is modern day revelation. It wasn't received until the 1830s. Also, alcohol and wine, it's debated. It was much different back then anyway. But when it comes down to it, it's modern day revelation. And I'm so grateful for that. Okay, really, really common question is caffeine against the Word of Wisdom? Can we drink soda? So I know that this is even something that's debated within the church. Straight from the Doctrine and Covenants, from the Word of Wisdom, it doesn't say anything about caffeine, but it does say to stay away from anything that can be addictive. So this is where it starts to get into different interpretations of things, and people have different opinions. So for me personally, I'm okay with drinking caffeine. I can drink soda as long as I'm not in a place where I'm like relying on it and where I'm addicted to it. You guys know I love my Diet Coke, but I know for a fact if someone said tomorrow, hey, you're never allowed to drink Diet Coke again, like I would be okay. I'm not addicted to it. I enjoy it, obviously, that's why I drink it. But I personally, I feel good. I feel okay with that decision. And I know that Elder Uchtdorf drinks Diet Coke too. So yeah, I feel like where a lot of the confusion comes back to is there was an interview that President Gordon B. Hinckley did with the media back when he was president of the church. I don't remember exactly who the interview was with, but someone had brought to the table, like, you know, caffeine can be addictive. Do you drink soda? And I think he said something like, no, members shouldn't. Then you get to a point of like, was that prophet speaking? Was that revelation? Was that personal opinions? I really think it's up to you at this point. I personally feel okay with it because I'm not addicted to it. I know it's really sugary, so I limit it. It's not like I'm like downing a liter of Diet Coke every day. One other thing I forgot to mention here is that in the last few years, BYU and all the BYU campuses have now allowed caffeinated drinks to be sold on campus, where before they were banned. So that's another argument that some would make, that it is okay to drink caffeinated drinks. So yeah, long answer to that is it's kind of up to you. Pray about it, pray what feels right, and remember the spirit of the law. Okay, now let's talk about tea. So I'm not a huge tea drinker personally. I don't know a lot about like the different kinds of tea, so bear with me, but I did try to do my research. So black and green tea are not okay. That's what's considered tea in the Word of Wisdom. Herbal tea is okay. So what it comes down to is if the tea or if the product came from tea leaves. So that's where black and green tea come from, but herbal tea is not made with tea leaves. That's the difference there. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you're tea drinkers, like herbal tea is okay, because if it's just herbal tea from like, I don't know, like a flower or something. I mean, I don't know what herbal tea is made out of. If it doesn't include the tea leaf, it's just like hot water, right? Okay, and something else that even that I've wondered about too, that maybe you guys can help, like leave a comment and let me know. I once got these like little eye mask things. You guys have seen them. And it had green tea was one of the ingredients. So like I used them once and then I haven't used them again because I've been like, I don't know if that is technically breaking the Word of Wisdom because it's a green tea product. But in the Word of Wisdom, when it's talking about tobacco, it says tobacco is not for the stomach, which means you're not to consume tobacco. But if I'm using it as green tea, as an eye product, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know if that is breaking the Word of Wisdom. I'm just really curious to hear what you guys think, how like granular we're supposed to get there. So let me know, because I know that there is like green tea in a lot of products. It can be really good for your skin. So I'm curious to know what you guys think there. Okay, someone also asked if boba is against the Word of Wisdom, like boba tea. It would just come down to if the tea leaves are used. Okay, someone asked if CBD products are against the Word of Wisdom. That's a great question. And you know, I don't know. I'm so sorry if that's like the reason you came to this video and I'm like, I don't even know. But I know that with CBD products, there's a difference between like CBD and hemp, and sometimes like the lines are blurred. So it's really hard to say. I mean, me personally, I avoid them. We know from different things from the church that marijuana is something we want to avoid.
Hey again, guys. So I was talking to my husband Eric. He just graduated in food science, and I was talking to him more about this, and he has a better like understanding of CBD, so I just wanted him to kind of explain that to you guys so you have more info.
Yeah, so we talked about CBD in a few of my classes. And so from a Word of Wisdom standpoint, there's a couple things that come into it for me. Number one is currently it's not technically legal for CBD to be in foods. The FDA isn't like enforcing that right now, so that's why you do see it all over the place. But it's not technically legal, so I would stay away from it from that standpoint. But in addition, CBD can have different sources. First of all, CBD is a compound that comes from the cannabis plant. And the real question that comes in here is the source of the CBD. From what I remember reading, CBD can come from, the non-marijuana part of a cannabis plant. The part that wouldn't get you high if you tried to smoke it or anything. And so if it came from that, you wouldn't really have any kind of concern there of it, containing a drug. The problem is that most of the CBD is actually in the marijuana part of the plant. So to me, it seems like it'd be better just to avoid CBD in general, because right now it's questionable as far as legality of it, as well as if it is, contaminated with marijuana or not. If you're really interested in it, then I guess you could do the research to see the specific company that is selling the product, how they're refining the CBD, how they're extracting it and things. If the CBD is coming from the marijuana part of the plant, then I would say you should avoid it. But if it's coming from, the other part, then it should be okay.
This next question says, is vegetarianism against the word of wisdom because it says to eat meat sparingly? And then someone else said, why do members still eat meat if it says to eat meat sparingly? So great questions. Fun fact, I was actually a vegetarian for a few years growing up, and I actually had this one Sunday school teacher who gave me a hard time about it because I was a teenager. I think he was just trying to help, of course, but he was like, animals are only here on earth to be consumed. I mean, certain animals, but he's like, vegetarianism, you can't be a vegetarian because it doesn't comply with the word of wisdom. And I don't know, I think this is more of a personal how you interpret it thing, but I don't think it's against the word of wisdom. I think just because it says to eat meat sparingly, I don't think it means you have to eat meat. And I think the point of only eating meat sparingly is because, it's not super healthy. I don't think just to eat meat. I think more than anything, it's important to have a well-balanced diet. So maybe you're a vegetarian, just make sure you eat your tofu and your veggie burgers, and I think you're good. Again, that's just me, but I don't see a problem in that. I don't think the word of wisdom means you have to eat meat. And why do members still eat meat? Again, it's just because we're told to eat it sparingly, but I know for me, for sure, that's something that I can work on because there's so many other ways to get your protein. And just living a healthier lifestyle in general, I think is super important. And again, something that we often don't think about when it comes to the word of wisdom, because if someone asks me if I follow the word of wisdom, I'm like, for sure, I don't do any of those things, but I don't really self-reflect and say, hey, am I living my healthiest lifestyle I can? Am I intentionally doing those things? And that would be harder to answer. So I would encourage all of you guys to kind of do a self-reflection, check in, see where you're at, and see what kind of changes you can make to improve your lifestyle. This last question I love, and it says, how can we explain to people who are not members of our faith why we don't drink alcohol, why we don't drink coffee or smoke or anything like that? I would encourage you to study the origins of the word of wisdom and really gain a testimony of it. I think it's crucial that you gain a personal testimony if you really pray about it and know for sure that, Joseph Smith was a prophet and that God loves us, and that's why he gives us these commandments. It can be so hard with, peer pressure because it's funny, I did a TikTok about this the other day about not drinking alcohol, and when you don't drink alcohol, some people think it's because you are an alcoholic. And so I think one of the harder parts about this whole thing with not drinking is people make assumptions. And you say, I don't drink, and they're like, oh, I don't either, but I just had one tonight and it was fine. And you're like, no, I don't drink at all. And I think what it comes down to is not being afraid to share your beliefs and why, and make sure people know this isn't just a right now thing. Forever, I don't drink alcohol, and it's because I believe it was a commandment from God. And I know you don't want to make people feel bad, make them feel like they're disappointing God by drinking, but you can explain, in my faith, we have a health code that we're commanded to live by, where we don't drink alcohol, we don't drink tea or coffee or use tobacco or drugs. and just explain that, you know, what it comes down to is we want to be able to feel close to God, and if we are in a place where we're, you know, battling addictions, that makes it more difficult, or if our minds are being altered, that makes it more difficult. Honestly, I think like if they're a good friend, at that point they shouldn't be pressuring you anymore, because if, you know, you explain it in a way where you're like, this is actually really important to me, this is forever, I love this, I believe this, then people, at least in my experience, have been like, oh my gosh, cool, like, okay, awesome. So this one experience I will never forget that pertains to the Word of Wisdom was a few years ago. I was on a company trip, all inclusive. It was an incentive trip to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. So I was with a bunch of other people, young like me, as you can imagine, wanted to party, wanted to hang out, and being all inclusive, like we showed up and alcohol was like raining from the sky. It was everywhere. Like we got off the bus, people were handing us champagne, like people were getting alcohol at the airport. They were already drunk by the time we got to the resort. So I'm like, this is gonna be a fun time. Luckily, there were some other people on the trip who also chose not to drink. So we hung out, we were cool, like we had our unlimited tacos and guacamole. We let everyone else enjoy all the alcohol. And I do now have really good non-alcoholic drink recommendations if you ever need them. At the end of the trip, on like the last day, we were actually driving in the bus to the airport, and we had this one guy come up to us, my roommate and I, she was a member too, and he was like, you know what, I just want you to know, like, I really respect you guys. Like, I kind of heard that you don't drink because of your religion, right? And we're like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, I just have a lot of respect for you. I mean, being surrounded by it like this, that's really cool that you guys really stuck to it, and I would love to hear more about what you believe. And just like that, we're like, boom, a missionary opportunity. This is awesome. We always talk about like being a light, being an example, and some people did go like way too crazy on that trip, like got to the point people almost got kicked out of the resort. So I think us like not drinking, it made them respect that a lot more. And so it became an opportunity to share about what we believed. I mean, no, he didn't get baptized or anything, but I'm really glad that I stuck to my standards and I was able to impress that upon someone, and he felt comfortable enough to come ask me about it. So I have a testimony of the Word of Wisdom, and I believe that all of you can receive a testimony of the Word of Wisdom too, and sticking to it and having the courage to say no and explain to people what we believe, that will help build your testimony even more, and who knows if it could turn into a missionary opportunity as well. I know it's hard, but you guys are strong. I know all of you listening and watching this video right now, you're here for a reason, and I hope that you all have a new fire under you about the Word of Wisdom and truly how amazing it is, because we have been promised blessings for following the Word of Wisdom. And I know if you do, those blessings will come to you both in physical health and in spiritual health. So thank you all so much for watching. I really hope that you were able to gain something from this video. And again, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to start a discussion with all of you and learn from you guys. You teach me so much. So I'm so grateful. Thanks again for watching. If you are interested in seeing more videos like this about LDS doctrine or things about culture or modest fashion, don't forget to subscribe down below and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you have any more recommendations for video topics in the future, I'd love to hear those too. You guys are seriously the best, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you guys, and I hope you have a great day. I will see you in the next one. Bye.